Today I'm coming to you from Tuscany. I'm in the Bolgheri region of Maremma and I'm here at Sassicaia, and this is the 2015 vintage of Sassicaia that I have to taste here. So Sassicaia has its own DOC, Bolgheri Sassicaia, and it's an estate whose winemaking dates back to the 1940s. I think it was 1942 that the Marchese Incisa della Rocchetta conducted his first experiments planting. I don't think they were all successful, but the first sort of full-scale wine planting goes on here in 1945. The first wine is made here in 1945, evidently, so presumably not from those vines that had been planted at that stage, from some of the earlier experimental wines. The wine that's become famous today was originally launched in 1968 as a simple vino de Tavola. There was no classification for the wine at the time because the Marchese really was a visionary. He decided that he wanted to make a style of wine he loved, something that mirrored the style of Bordeaux. He believed in making wines for aging. He was Piedmontese, so had grown up with the wines of Barolo and Barbaresco and those sort of wines that are suited for long aging. And as a result, people locally didn't understand what he was doing, and so he carried this on almost as a hobby, because actually at that stage I think the main business of this estate was breeding racehorses, and there's a very long line of racehorses bred here, very successful stables. But these days the wine has actually taken the forefront, and there's about 120 hectares of vines planted here on the estate. These vines cover a set of different soil types and altitudes, so the oldest plots are about 400 metres above sea level in the hills, and some of the other plots are more like sort of 80 metres above sea level. But by doing this, the Marchese had managed to find areas of soil type that were similar to those where the Bordeaux varieties he loved were made. So, I mean, Sassicaia actually translates as field of stones, and so well-drained gravel was what he was looking for, so he could grow his beloved Cabernet Sauvignon. Although there are diverse soils here, you've got a certain amount of gravel over a limestone base and some clays as well. So it's very suited to that. And this wine is a blend of primarily Cabernet Sauvignon. In fact, to fulfill the DOC regulations, it has to be at least 80% Cabernet Sauvignon. In fact, in 2015, it's 85% Cabernet Sauvignon, and the balance is Cabernet Franc, just to give a bit of sort of rusticity and wildness, just to give an extra dimension, I suppose, to the Cabernet Sauvignon in the blend. And the winemaking here, I have to say, is totally meticulous. I mean, everything hand harvested, obviously, sorting, etc. But everything being vinified by plot, it being kept in barrel according to plot. It ages for 2 years in barrel, with about a third of that being new oak, a third being second fill, and a third being third fill oak. And it ages for a period of about 2 years, somewhere between 22 and 26 months, as necessitated by the vintage. So as I say, this vintage 85% Sauvignon and 15% Cabernet Franc. So that's a pretty normal blend for Sassicaia. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? Now I've already looked at the 2016, and actually this is a fairly deep dark ruby. It hasn't lost as much colour as the 2016 has. I mean, it's fairly deep. I mean, it's deep to medium. The wine has about 14% alcohol, and it's putting some quite pronounced tears onto the side of the glass there. That's to be expected, considering the wine should have a good tannic content and give good viscosity. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? Wow, actually, this wine's been open for about 2 hours. It was decanted as well, so it's had time to get plenty of air into it. And the aromas have really opened up here. And there's still a tightness. There's less perfume to the 2015 than there was on the 2016, but there's a lifted sort of dark cherry note. There's hints of truffle, almost a touch of sort of black plum. And something I get with the aromas of Sassicaia is that it almost seems as if it's just on the verge of being volatile. There's something high-toned and lifted about the aromas, about perfumes that somehow is very Italian in its style. You couldn't mistake this wine for a Bordeaux from the nose, certainly. So let's have a taste. Again, wow, this wine really benefits from having had time to open up in the glass. It's showing those sort of rich, dark cherries, and then you've got a red cherry concentration coming through, and then you've got little bits of loganberry and spicy raspberry. There are tiny chocolatey notes, and nothing's in excess here. These are all very delicate nuances that are coming through. I mean, there's a vanilla hint behind it, but I'm not sort of seeing obvious cedary oak. I mean, clearly the structure is very fine. There's a sort of a slightly drying grip, notes of cocoa powder, that sort of really fine, silky texture. You know, this is beautifully together, but actually there's a sort of slightly licoricey, aniseed, fennel, concentrated core here that the 2016 didn't have. This has more depth and it's more brooding. The finish is a little bit more rounded. There's a richness and a ripeness, but still the acidity comes through as a freshness. The alcohol doesn't seem out of balance at all. It's completely in keeping with what is at best a medium to full-bodied wine. This is not a heavy wine at all. And the flavours are just lasting ethereally. They're delicately on the tongue, and you keep seeing delicate elements of, say, red currant, cranberry, fennel, you know, just notes like that coming out. There's a wonderful elegance, and yet there are these slight, wild, vegetal herbal notes that come through as well. That is very much a sort of a Sassicaia hallmark. This is a stunning wine. It's just starting to open up now after a couple of hours open. And really, I think that shows this is a wine that probably needs to stay in the cellar for another 10 years to really show at its best. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be spectacular when you come back to it. So thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, do please press the like button. Do consider signing up and subscribing to the Wine Searcher channel on YouTube. It would be fantastic to have your support. If you have any comments, please leave those in the comments box below. I will leave a link to the page for Sassicaia 2015 on the Wine Searcher website below, so that you can follow that and you can see where the wine's available, what its pricing is, other information, background information about the wine, its price history, what the critics have said about it, and anything else you could possibly need to know about the wine. So thank you again for joining us, and I do hope you'll make some time and come and join us for another tasting in the very near future. Thank you again. Bye for now.